Once, on a small street in Jerusalem, there were 3 shops. The first shop was run by a young man who worked with precious metals. He was known throughout the land for his beautiful work. In the second shop was a woman who had spent her entire life developing and selling the finest of incense. Anyone looking for a special fragrance knew to come to her. And the third shop was the place of business of an old man who worked with fine oils and perfumes. His shop was frequented by people from many places. But in each of these shops, something was missing. One day, the man who worked with precious metals stopped in the midst of making a beautiful necklace for one of his customers. The cry of his heart was this: "Oh God, creator of the universe, you have taught me how to create. Now, if only I could create something for you and for you alone, something more beautiful than anything I've ever created, then I would be happy." That same day, the woman in the second shop was smelling a fragrance when she stopped and stared at all of the containers in her shop. The cry of her heart was this: "Oh, my Lord and my King, the smell of this shop has been sweet these many years, and I thank you for it. Now, if only I could make a fragrance for you and for you alone, a sweeter smelling fragrance than any I have ever made, then I will be happy." That day also found the old man in the last shop, selling his oils and perfumes. And as the last customer of the day went out the door, the old man sighed, and this was the cry of his heart: "Oh God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you have blessed me with this shop and made it a success. Now, if only I could mix an oil for you and you alone, one precious enough to anoint your feet, then I would be happy." The very next day, the man in the first shop was out buying metals when he came across the most beautiful gold he had ever seen. "This is it," he said. "This is the gold out of which I will make my gift for the Lord." So he gave all the money that he had and bought the gold. At the same time, the woman in the second shop found that she needed one special ingredient to complete her incense for the Lord. She knew that ingredient would cost her everything, but she went down to Egypt, found the ingredient, and bought it. The old man in the last shop closed down completely so that he could devote his full time to mixing the ointment he had promised the Lord. His many customers were turned away as he gave his whole life to the mixture. After much time, all 3 gifts were complete. The finest gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh were ready to present to the Lord. The prayers which had come from each of the 3 shops had been answered. They had each been able to make the finest gift possible for the Lord and the Lord alone. And yet, there was still something missing. For you see, each one of them had given up everything to present their one special gift to the Lord. And now, those gifts were all they had. Their shops had lost all of the business that had once brought them their fortunes. Now, their only possessions were their gifts. Now that the little street was quiet, the three would often tell each other their stories, and they found that they were very much the same. One day, three visitors from the east came to the little street. It was as if they had been guided there. Each one of them stopped in one of the shops and told the tale of their journey. They were following a star, they said, a star that would lead them to the birthplace of a king. Not just a king, they said, the king of the ages, the king of the universe. But they must have gifts, they said, gifts to present to this baby king. In each of the shops there was but one gift left, the gift which each of them had promised to the Lord. The travelers asked to buy them. Oh no, it cannot be sold, it can only be given. And as each of the shopkeepers said those words, they knew that the gift that had taken all of their time and all of their money, the gift which had begun with prayer, was now to be given by these travelers to the baby king. Very tenderly, the gold was wrapped, the incense was prepared, and the myrrh was placed in a jar. And as the strange travelers departed, the shopkeepers watched their gifts disappear into the coming night. Now it was not long before the travelers reached their destination. The star rested over the town of Bethlehem. They found the house of Joseph and Mary and asked to see their son. The boy was still a toddler, but when the travelers entered the room, they fell on their knees before him. "We bring you gifts, very special gifts." The boy gazed at the beautiful gold. The frankincense had been lit, and the fragrance reached his nostrils. And the boy's hand caressed the jar of myrrh. At that moment, on a small street in Jerusalem, a miracle occurred. The three shops, which had been all but abandoned, suddenly sprang to life. They each had more business than they'd ever had before. The worker of precious metals, the woman who made incense, and the old man who mixed fine oils and perfumes, each of them was restored to his or her former state. But now that something was no longer missing, for in Bethlehem, a boy was looking at three gifts, and as he looked, the entire universe smiled, for he was pleased.